I found my wife's second phone on a Tuesday, wedged between the passenger seat and center console of her Lexus, vibrating with a text that read, "Last night was incredible. When can I wreck you again?" That's how my marriage ended. Not with a bang, but with autocorrect turning weak into wreck. At least, I assume it was autocorrect. Though knowing Travis, probably not. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name is Daniel Foster. I'm 38 years old, an IT project manager at a mid-sized insurance company, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had a pretty good life. Split-level house in the suburbs, 2 kids, a wife who looked great in yoga pants and knew it. The American dream, wrapped in HOA regulations and property taxes that could choke a horse. Melissa and I had been married for 15 years. High school sweethearts who'd made it work through college, career changes, 2 pregnancies, and the slow, grinding erosion of passion that everyone says is normal. We'd become roommates who occasionally had sex, usually on birthdays, or after she'd had exactly 2.5 glasses of wine at neighborhood barbecues. I should have seen it coming. The signs were all there, bright as construction cones on a highway, but I'd been too busy being the reliable guy, the one who fixed the garbage disposal, coached Max's gaming club, drove Sophie to dance practice, and pretended not to notice when Melissa stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings. The gym membership should have been the first clue. Melissa had always been fitness conscious, but when she upgraded from the regular Planet Fitness to Elite Performance Studio, the place with the Instagram-famous trainers and the monthly fee that rivaled our grocery budget, I'd actually been supportive. "Good for you, babe," I'd said, like an idiot. "You deserve to invest in yourself." What I didn't know was that she was investing in Travis Bell, 28 years old, with arms like bridge cables and the moral compass of a shopping cart. He drove a murdered-out Dodge Charger with an exhaust system loud enough to wake the dead, and he had the kind of confidence that comes from never having experienced real consequences. The late-night workouts started in February. Melissa would come home at 9, sometimes 10 at night, skin flushed, hair damp, smelling like expensive body wash instead of sweat. She'd head straight for the shower, phone clutched in her hand like a lifeline. "Tough session?" I'd ask. "You have no idea," she'd reply, and I didn't. Not then. The phone thing was what really got me. Melissa had always been attached to her phone. She was a marketing director after all, always on call for clients. But suddenly, it was face down on every surface, password protected, and she'd flinch if I got too close when she was texting. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I'm not ashamed either. I used our shared iPad, the one we'd set up years ago for the kids, to access her iCloud backup. It took me about 20 minutes to find what I was looking for, and another 5 minutes to throw up in the bathroom. The messages went back 4 months. Hundreds of them. Explicit photos, voice memos that made my skin crawl. A video I deleted after 3 seconds because some things once seen can't be unseen. But the worst part? The group chat with her work friends Karen and Brittany, where they'd spent weeks dissecting my failures as a husband, my dad bod, my predictable nature, how I was fine but not exciting, how Travis made her feel alive again. There was a message from just last week. "Dan's taking the kids to his sister's this weekend. Travis is coming over Friday night. Finally have the house to myself, lol." I sat in my home office staring at that screen, feeling something cold and heavy settle in my chest. Not heartbreak, that would come later. This was something else. Calculation. Planning. The same focused energy I brought to project management, now redirected toward a singular goal. My sister Jamie found me there at 2 a.m, surrounded by printed screenshots. I'd given her a key years ago for emergencies, and apparently, my car sitting in the driveway with every light in the house blazing qualified. "Jesus, Dan," she said, picking up one of the printouts. Her face went from concerned to furious in about 3 seconds. That cheating bitch. Jamie was everything Melissa wasn't: blunt, loyal, and completely uninterested in keeping up appearances. She'd never liked Melissa, had told me at our wedding that I was marrying a mannequin with a marketing degree. I'd laughed it off then. I wasn't laughing now. "How long have you known?" she asked. "About 6 hours. What are you going to do?" I looked at the evidence spread across my desk, months of betrayal, documented and undeniable. "I'm going to destroy her," I said, "completely, methodically, and I'm going to enjoy every second of it." Jamie pulled up a chair. "Okay, let's make a plan." The next morning, I confronted Melissa in our kitchen. The kids were at school. I'd taken a personal day. She was making a smoothie, wearing one of those expensive athletic sets that cost more than my entire wardrobe. "We need to talk," I said. She didn't even turn around. "Can it wait? I have a 9 o'clock with a client." "No, it can't." Something in my tone made her turn. I watched her face as I slid the printed screenshots across the kitchen island. Watched the color drain from her cheeks, then come roaring back as anger replaced shock. "You went through my phone?" she hissed. "Your cloud backup, technically different." "You had no right." "I had every right. I'm your husband. Or did you forget that while Travis was wrecking you?" She had the audacity to look offended. "This is exactly why I needed someone else, Dan. You're so controlling, so suspicious. I can't breathe in this marriage." I actually laughed. "Wow, gaslighting. That's bold. What's next? You going to tell me I'm imagining the 4 months of explicit texts?" "It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been sleeping with your trainer, in our bed apparently, based on that video from last Friday." Her jaw tightened. "I want a divorce." "Funny. So do I. But we're going to do this my way." "Your way?" She crossed her arms. "You don't get to dictate terms here, Dan. I'll take the house, primary custody of the kids, and you'll be lucky if you get every other weekend." "Based on what? Your stellar moral character?" "Based on the fact that I make more money than you, I'm the primary caregiver and I have the better lawyer." "Had," I corrected. "Past tense. Because by the time I'm done, you won't have a job, a reputation, or a prayer." She laughed. Actually laughed. "You're pathetic. You think you can hurt me? You're just the boring guy I settled for because I got pregnant at 22. Travis is what I deserve. Youth, excitement, passion." Travis is a 28-year-old gym rat who still lives in a studio apartment and drives a car held together by bondo and delusion. But sure, Mel, he's your prize. She grabbed her purse and keys. "I'm staying at Karen's tonight. We'll talk when you're ready to be reasonable." "Give Travis my regards," I called after her. "Tell him I said thanks for keeping my wife so motivated." The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. I didn't move out. That was Jamie's first piece of advice. "You leave that house, and you're giving her ammunition for abandonment," she said. "Plant your flag and don't budge." So I stayed. Melissa stayed at Karen's for 3 days, then came back and moved into the guest room. We existed in cold silence, communicating only through terse texts about the kids' schedules. Max, my 14-year-old, knew something was wrong. He'd inherited my observational skills and his mother's ability to read a room. Sophie, at 10, was still young enough to accept our explanation that Mom and Dad need some space right now. I hired a lawyer, Ms. Kim, recommended by Jamie. She was 50-something with steel gray hair and a reputation for eviscerating opposing counsel. Our first consultation lasted 2 hours. "You have excellent documentation," she said, reviewing my evidence. "Text messages, photos, videos, all obtained legally through shared devices. This will absolutely impact custody and asset division." "I want primary custody," I said, "and I want her to feel every bit of this." Miss Kim looked at me over her reading glasses. "Mr. Foster, I need to be clear. My job is to get you the best legal outcome. Revenge is not typically part of that equation." "Then consider it a personal hobby." She almost smiled. Fair enough, but keep it legal. No vandalism, no harassment, no physical confrontation. Document everything. Let her dig her own grave. I nodded, but I was already planning things that existed in the gray areas of legality. Things Ms. Kim didn't need to know about. The first move was social. Our neighborhood was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone's business, and the primary communication hub was a Facebook group called Maple Ridge Community Watch. It was ostensibly for reporting suspicious activity and organizing block parties, but really it was a gossip mill run by Mrs. Ellison, a 60-something busybody who lived 3 houses down. I'd never been active in the group. That was Melissa's domain. She was always posting about the kids' achievements, our vacation photos, her morning runs. But I knew Mrs. Ellison personally. She'd been complaining about Travis's Charger for months, the noise, the speed, the way he'd peel out of our driveway at all hours. I ran into her at the grocery store on a Saturday morning. Pure coincidence. Or maybe I'd been tracking Melissa's location via Find My iPhone, still logged into the iPad, and knew she was at the gym with Travis. "Daniel," Mrs. Ellison said, her cart blocking the cereal aisle. "How are you? I haven't seen Melissa on her morning runs lately." "She's been doing evening workouts," I said. "New trainer at Elite Performance Studio. Very intense. Very personal." I watched her eyes light up. Mrs. Ellison could smell gossip like a shark smells blood. Personal? You know how it is. These young trainers, they really get invested in their clients. I paused. Travis, the guy with the Charger, he's been great for her, really pushing her limits. The Charger, Mrs. Ellison repeated, and I could see the wheels turning. That's been coming and going from your house quite a bit. Has it? I frowned. Huh, I work from home most days, so I guess I don't notice. I left it there, seeds planted. Mrs. Ellison would do the rest. 2 days later, someone posted in the community group about excessive noise from a black Dodge Charger on our street. The post had 37 comments within an hour, half of them from people who'd also noticed the car. And wasn't it strange that it was always parked at the Foster's house when Daniel's car was gone? Melissa was livid. "Did you do this?" she demanded, shoving her phone in my face. "Do what? I don't even use that group." "Someone's spreading rumors about me and Travis." "Are they rumors if they're true?" She threw her phone at me. I ducked, and it shattered against the wall behind me. "You're going to pay for this," she said. "Add it to my tab," I replied. The second move was professional. Melissa worked for a mid-sized marketing firm, and her boss, Ms. Larkin, was notoriously strict about the company's image. I knew this because Melissa had complained about it for years, how Ms. Larkin had fired someone for a drunk driving arrest, how she'd forced another employee to resign over an affair with a client. I didn't contact Ms. Larkin directly. That would have been too obvious. Instead, I created a burner email account and sent an anonymous tip to the company's HR department. The email included screenshots of Melissa's group chat with Karen and Brittany, the one where they discussed her affair in detail, including messages sent during work hours from her company phone. I also included a link to the Maple Ridge Community Watch Facebook post, which by then had exploded into a full-blown neighborhood scandal. 3 days later, Melissa came home at 2 p.m, face blotchy from crying. "I've been put on administrative leave," she said, "pending an investigation into conduct unbecoming." "That's terrible," I said, not looking up from my laptop. "This is your fault." "How? Did I force you to sleep with Travis? Did I make you trash-talk me to your co-workers on company time?" She didn't answer, just went upstairs and slammed the guest room door. The third move was personal, and it was Jamie's idea. "You need to get out there," she said. "Start dating. Show her you've moved on." "I'm not ready for that. I'm not talking about falling in love, Dan. I'm talking about optics. She needs to see that you're not sitting around pining for her." "Who would I even date?" Jamie grinned. "I might have an idea." That's how I met Kayla. She was Travis's ex-girlfriend, and she had her own reasons for wanting revenge. Travis had cheated on her, with Melissa as it turned out, and then dumped her via text message. She was 26, worked as a dental hygienist, and had a smile that could cut glass. "I want to help," she said when Jamie introduced us at a coffee shop. "That asshole ruined my life. If I can help ruin his, even better." "I'm not looking for anything serious," I warned her. "Neither am I. But I am looking to make Travis and your wife very, very uncomfortable." Our first date was at Murphy's Bar, a local dive that was popular with Melissa's work crowd. We sat at a corner booth, laughing and talking just loud enough to be noticed. Kayla was a good actress. She touched my arm, leaned in close, played the part perfectly. Karen and Brittany were there, at the bar. I watched them notice us, watched them pull out their phones. By the time Kayla and I left, Melissa had called me 6 times. I didn't answer. I was too busy planning the next phase. Travis's Charger was his pride and joy. He'd spent thousands on modifications, custom exhaust, lowered suspension, tinted windows, a sound system that could wake the dead. He posted about it constantly on Instagram, hashtagging every photo with things like Tower Charger Life and Mopar or No Car. It was parked outside Elite Performance Studio on a Wednesday night. I knew this because I'd been tracking his location through Kayla, who was still logged into his Netflix account and had convinced him to share his location for safety. I didn't vandalize it. That would have been illegal. Instead, I did something much worse. I waited until 3 a.m, then drove to the gym parking lot with a duffel bag full of supplies. 5 pounds of glitter, the ultrafine kind that gets into everything and never comes out. 3 containers of protein powder, and a bag of frozen shrimp that I'd left to thaw in my trunk for 6 hours. I jimmied the door lock, a skill I'd learned from YouTube, because the internet is a beautiful thing, and went to work. Glitter in the vents, in the seats, in every crevice. Protein powder in the carpet. Shrimp tucked into the door panels and under the seats. Then I relocked the door and went home. Travis discovered it the next morning. I know because Kayla sent me screenshots of his increasingly unhinged text messages. "Someone destroyed my car. It smells like death. There's glitter everywhere." The gym's security cameras showed nothing. I'd parked 3 blocks away and worn a hoodie. There was no evidence, no proof, just a ruined car and a very angry personal trainer. Melissa knew it was me. She showed up at my office the next day, screaming in the lobby until security escorted her out. Ms. Kim sent a cease and desist letter that afternoon, but I wasn't done, not even close. The neighborhood block party was scheduled for the first Saturday in June. It was an annual tradition. Potluck food, bouncy houses for kids, and enough passive-aggressive small talk to fuel a reality TV show. Melissa had been on the planning committee for years. This year she showed up with Travis. It was a bold move. I'll give her that. Walking into a neighborhood that had been gossiping about her affair for weeks, arm in arm with the guy half her age. She wore a sundress and oversized sunglasses, like she was Jackie Kennedy instead of a suburban mom having a midlife crisis. I was there with Kayla. We'd brought potato salad and a case of beer, and we'd positioned ourselves near the main pavilion where everyone could see us. Max and Sophie were with me. Melissa had tried to insist they stay with her, but Ms. Kim had gotten a temporary custody arrangement that gave me weekends. The kids were confused, but adapting. Sophie kept asking when Mom was coming home. Max had stopped asking anything at all. Travis lasted about an hour before things went sideways. He'd been drinking, beer after beer, getting louder and more obnoxious. He started talking trash about me to a group of neighborhood dads, not realizing that most of them had known me for years. "Guy's a loser," Travis said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Can't satisfy his wife, can't keep his family together. Melissa deserves better." That's when Tom Richardson, my next-door neighbor and occasional golf buddy, stepped in. "Maybe you should shut up," Tom said, "before you embarrass yourself more than you already have." "Who the hell are you?" Travis shot back. "I'm the guy who's been listening to your car wake up my kids for the past 6 months. And I'm the guy who's going to ask you to leave if you don't show some respect. Travis shoved Tom. Tom shoved back. And suddenly, there were a dozen people between them, shouting and pushing. I stayed where I was, Kayla's hand in mine, watching it all unfold. Melissa was trying to pull Travis away, her face red with humiliation. Mrs. Ellison was recording everything on her phone. The kids were staring, wide-eyed, and then Travis made his biggest mistake. He pointed at me and yelled, "This is all your fault, Foster. You're a pathetic loser who can't let go." I stood up slowly, handed Kayla my beer, and walked over to him. The crowd parted. Travis puffed out his chest, all 28 years of gym rat confidence. "You're right," I said calmly. "I can't let go, because you're sleeping with my wife in my bed, around my kids, and you have the audacity to show up at my neighborhood party and call me pathetic." I didn't hit him. I didn't have to. I just stood there, letting everyone see the contrast. Me, calm and controlled. Him, drunk and aggressive. "Get out," I said, "before I have you arrested for trespassing." Travis lunged at me. Tom and 2 other dads grabbed him, hauling him backward. Melissa was crying, trying to apologize to everyone at once. And I just walked back to Kayla, picked up my beer, and took a long drink. Mrs. Ellison posted the video to the community Facebook group that night. It had 300 views by morning. The divorce proceedings started in July. Ms. Kim was ruthless. She presented evidence of Melissa's affair, her group chat messages, the neighborhood scandal, her suspension from work. She argued for primary custody based on Melissa's unstable behavior and poor judgment. Melissa's lawyer tried to fight back, but there wasn't much to work with. Melissa had been fired from her job. Ms. Larkin had completed the investigation and decided that conduct unbecoming was grounds for termination. She'd moved in with Travis, which meant she was now living in a studio apartment that smelled like protein powder and desperation. The custody evaluator visited both homes. Mine was the split-level house the kids had grown up in, with their bedrooms intact and a schedule that revolved around their needs. Melissa's was a cramped space with 1 bedroom, a futon in the living room, and a boyfriend who played video games until 3 in the morning. The evaluator's report was damning. The children express a clear preference for residing primarily with their father. The mother's living situation is unstable, and her relationship with Mr. Bell appears to be a source of stress for the children. Ms. Kim smiled when she read it. "This is about as good as it gets," she said. "But I wanted more than custody. I wanted Melissa to understand exactly what she'd lost. The house had always been in both our names, but I'd been the one making the mortgage payments for the past 3 months. Melissa had no income, and Travis certainly wasn't contributing. Ms. Kim filed a motion to grant me sole ownership based on financial contribution and primary custody. Melissa fought it, but she had no leverage. Her lawyer was court-appointed. She couldn't afford private counsel anymore. Travis had offered to help, but his help consisted of a few $100s and a lot of empty promises. In September, the judge ruled in my favor. I got primary custody, the house, and most of the assets. Melissa got every other weekend with the kids, her car, and whatever she could fit in Travis's studio apartment. She showed up to collect her things on a Saturday morning, Travis in tow. I'd packed everything neatly, clothes, toiletries, photos. I'd even included the expensive yoga mats and resistance bands she'd bought for her workouts. "This isn't fair," she said, standing in the living room that was no longer hers. "Fair?" I repeated. "You cheated on me for 4 months, humiliated me in front of our friends and neighbors, and tried to take my kids away. But sure, let's talk about fair." "I made a mistake. You made a choice, and choices have consequences." Travis tried to step in. "Man, you need to let this go. It's over." I looked at him, really looked at him. The guy who'd wrecked my marriage, who'd paraded around my neighborhood like he'd won some kind of prize. He looked smaller now, tired. The Charger was gone. He'd sold it to pay rent after the gym fired him for conduct issues. Kayla had told me that, along with the fact that he and Melissa fought constantly. "You're right," I said. "It is over. Enjoy your prize, Travis. I hope she's worth it." They left with 3 carloads of boxes. I watched them drive away, Melissa in her Lexus, Travis in a beat-up Honda Civic he'd borrowed from a friend. Then I closed the door, walked into the kitchen, and poured myself a drink. Jamie came over that night with pizza and beer. We sat on the back deck, watching the kids play in the yard. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Tired," I said, "but good, really good." "You won, Dan, completely." I nodded. I had won. Melissa had lost her job, her home, her reputation, and her kids. Travis had lost his car, his job, and whatever future he'd imagined with a woman 15 years older than him. And I had everything I'd fought for. But the best part? The part that made all of it worth it? 2 weeks later, I got a call from Kayla. "You're not going to believe this," she said, laughing. "Travis just called me. He wants to get back together. Says Melissa is crazy, and he made a mistake." "What did you tell him?" "I told him to go to hell, but I thought you'd want to know." I did want to know, because it meant that Melissa's prize, the exciting, passionate relationship she'd thrown away her marriage for, had fallen apart in less than 6 months. She was alone, broke, and miserable. And I was here, in my house, with my kids, living the life she'd tried to take from me. On Christmas Eve, Max and Sophie helped me decorate the tree. We made hot chocolate, watched old movies, and stayed up late wrapping presents. Melissa called to say goodnight to the kids, her voice small and sad over the phone. After they went to bed, I stood in the living room looking at the tree lights and the stockings hung by the fireplace. This was my life now. Not perfect, but mine. I'd started as the invisible man, the reliable guy who fixed things and stayed quiet. The one who'd been easy to overlook, easy to cheat on, easy to discard. But I'd ended as something else entirely. Someone who'd fought back, who'd refused to be a victim, who'd taken everything that was rightfully his and left his enemies with nothing but regret. Melissa had wanted excitement. She'd wanted passion. She'd wanted to feel alive. I'd given her something better. I'd given her consequences. And that, more than anything, was the sweetest revenge of all.